To speak in front of you guys today. Walking through the doors this morning, I was so surprised because I'm a college senior. I'm going to be graduating soon, but it feels just like yesterday. I was in your guys' position, waking up way too early to get to school. I haven't woke up this early in quite some time, so if you guys make it to college, it gets much easier. You don't have to wake up this early. It's great. Today, I want to speak to you guys about identity. It's something that has been kind of difficult for me to understand for a long time, and I'd like to share my perspective on that. So when you meet someone for the first time, what are some of the things that you guys ask of the other person? Yeah, Ken?
Their name.
Their name, right? So when Andrew came up here, the first thing he asked is, what is your name? So the idea is, you have to find some way to reference them. A name is an incredibly important thing to do. You also ask them, what grade are you in? Because the older they are, the more perspective they've had on life, and you interact with them differently, right? So if you find out someone's a teacher, you interact with them different than if they're a friend. If you find out they're an 8th grader as opposed to a 6th grader, you guys talk to them differently. You also maybe ask, what are your interests? You might ask them, are you into basketball? Are you into football? Because you're trying to get at who they are. But a question that I always get, and I'm wondering if you guys feel this too, is I get asked, what are you? Have you guys ever been asked that? What are you? You guys may even ask that a lot. I'm asked that all the time. Because if you look at the way that I look in appearance, it might be a little complex as to what I am. So I'll go right out and say it. My mom is an immigrant from South Korea, and my dad's parents are from Mexico. So I'm half Korean, half Mexican. But I was born and raised in California and don't speak Korean or Spanish. I'm pretty American. So it's a little bit difficult for people to understand that, right? I look a certain way, I act a different way, and people kind of find that difficult. When I was growing up, like you guys in middle school, that comes up a lot. It's really important, the what are you? If you wear glasses, you're kind of framed as a certain kind of person. If you have a bowl haircut, you're framed as a certain kind of person. If you have braces, you're framed as a certain kind of person. If you have all three of those things, like I did when I was your age, you're framed as a certain kind of person. And, it's so important when you're in middle school, these kind of external things, the way you look, as a way for people to kind of identify who you are, and that can be so incredibly frustrating if what you look like isn't what you identify with, what you believe in. And I thought about this a lot last week. So last week, my grandpa from South Korea, a person that I've only met 1 or 2 times in my whole life, passed away. And he was, getting kind of old, but our family kind of saw it coming. But it was a really weird experience. So who here has had a grandfather or a grandparent die? Raise your hand. Yeah, and of course, if you look in the room, there's a lot of people with their hand raised. Our experiences with our grandparents are very different. Some of us have a very close relationship with our grandparents. Some of us may never have seen our grandparent before. And it got me thinking about, my life, my history, and how I'm here and why I'm here. There's a reason why I didn't get to meet my grandpa. And the reason is because my mom, when she was my age, decided to immigrate from Korea to the United States. Basically no money to try to make it here, alone. And there was times where she told me she would buy 1 top ramen a day, and she would cut it into 4 pieces and eat 1 piece for every meal, because that's how bad it was. And I was talking to her recently, kind of reflecting on the experiences of my grandpa. I wanted to know more about him, and I found it really interesting that she didn't know much about him either. So what's really interesting is that when my mom was your guys' age, it was really the last time that she got to meet and to live with her parents. Because when she was your age, she took an exam in Korea. And the way it works in Korea is that you're your guys' age, and to determine where you go to high school, you don't apply or enter a lottery, you take an exam. And you take an exam all day, and depending on what you do on that exam, you're placed in a school. And my mom did really well on that test and was placed in a boarding school a day's travel away in Korea. So she went to this boarding school throughout her high school life, and when she graduated, she came to the US. She didn't know, that ultimately she would stop living with her parents when she was your guys' age. And I thought it's so interesting to know how much my mom gave up. There's so many people that come to the United States every single year to make a better life for themselves. And to be able to do that, you make sacrifices. So my mom had to sacrifice a relationship with her parents, to sacrifice relationships with her friends and with her support group to come to the United States and make a better place. And show of hands here, how many of you guys are born in a different state or born in a different country? Okay. How many of you guys have parents that were born in a different state or a different country? Even more hands. And how many of us know someone back far enough in our history that wasn't born in the United States? It should be everyone, unless you're a full Native American. We're all immigrants to the United States. And if you look around the room, though, if you look at your classmates, you might look the same, right? So you might see someone that's, if I'm Asian, I see someone that's Asian, there's some similarity there. If someone's black and you see someone else that's black, there's some expectation that you guys are similar. But as I'm explaining our experience in the United States, it varies completely, right? You might be black, but you might be from Cuba or the Dominican Republic. You might be black, but you could be directly from Africa, or you could have parents that have been here throughout their entire lives and for generations. And I think this is kind of the point of my speech here, are two things. And one is that we may have frustration and difficulty understanding the people around us. We might have a view of the world or an opinion that isn't in line with the person we're talking to. So I'm sure you guys have a situation where you ask a friend to a party that you want to go to and they say no for some reason, right? Does that happen to you guys? Or you want to play basketball and they don't want to play basketball. Or there's some difference that you guys have an opinion that you just don't understand. You know, you see the other person, you look like them, they talk like you, why don't you have the same opinion? And this is the point, is that our backgrounds vary so differently, it affects who we are. And I think there's so much frustration and there's so much anger and violence towards people that are different from us that we lash out. If you look at the freedom riders, you know, if you look at that sign, segregation forever, people that were of a certain color couldn't use buses, people of a certain color had to use separate lines for the water fountain, certain people had to use separate lines for the bathroom, right? And that was all based off of appearance. People couldn't understand that there were people that didn't look like them, that acted a certain way, and they didn't like that. But I think a lot of this can be solved by just taking a step back when we get frustrated or angry towards people that aren't having the same views as us, and thinking, what is going on in their minds? The idea of putting yourself in the other person's shoes and thinking, you know, what is in their past, what is in their history, what kind of family were they growing up with, what kind of friends did they have growing up with, what kind of city do they live in, and understanding as a result of their environment why they are the way they are. And secondly, what I want to leave you guys with is the idea that our identities are incredibly complex and something that we shouldn't be afraid of. When I was your age, and I'm a mixed race, I had glasses, I had braces, I had a bowl haircut, my mom didn't really speak English well, I didn't use English words correctly, I felt judged, people got violent towards me occasionally, and I took it really personally. And I felt, why am I the way that I am? Why can't I be different? And I think all of us feel that way, especially in your guys' age, when so many expectations of who you're supposed to be are imposed on you. And I just want to say the importance of accepting who you are, you know, the things that you love about yourself, to just continue doing that and not be ashamed of those differences. Because those differences are what make us all so beautiful and so wonderful as people. So let's love our complexities, enjoy our differences, and be proud of our own identity. Thank you.